Short pumps moving and the rush is coming. Grab your keys, hit the road. Let's ride. Rich has the news for the drive outside. Wake up with Rich and win the day. Don't spend your morning playing catch up. WRVA and the city's alive. 7 a.m. It's go time, Richmond.
Hey, good morning, everybody. 7:04 here on News Radio WRVA. My name is Rich Herrera. Appreciate you spending time with us on this Tuesday. Now, a lot of questions have been going out. Donald Trump has this memo of understanding between the U.S. and Iran will bring the conflict to an end, but we haven't seen the paperwork. And we've seen so many different people screaming, yelling, it's this, it's that. The president and J.D. Vance have been out the last 24 hours letting people know, here's what's in it. We'll get the text of it soon. You had Barack Obama showing up on television over the weekend going, well, my deal was pretty good. I don't know why we just didn't run with mine. So I wanted to find out the difference between the agreement that Barack Obama had with Iran that was torn up by Donald Trump in the first administration and where we are today. So I need some help. So we're going to turn to our friend, Dr. Jacob Olidart, from the America First Policy Institute to join us here on News Radio WRVA to discuss. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
No, thank you. So I need help here, and I think the American people need some help to come to an understanding. What exactly was the JCPOA, the Obama administration's agreement with Iran that Donald Trump tore up, and what we're looking at now?
Right. And so I think that's a very important question, a very big distinction. So Obama's deal, first and foremost, explicitly allowed Iran to acquire a nuclear weapon. That's in the deal itself. Among different places, one of those is what's called the sunset clauses. So the deal actually, by design, was made to expire over a period of some 10, 15 years. You all can have the sanctions relief, have these funds, and we trust that you won't build a program, but all this disappears in 15 years. And that, I think, was one of the most dangerous pieces of it. The other aspect is that it only focused on this very narrow discussion of the nuclear issue. Meanwhile, Iran was developing its terror network, its ballistic missile program, as we all know. None of that, there was no space to discuss any of that because of this one deal and making sure there was compliance with it. It wasn't also a deal at all. There was no signatures. There was nothing to it. It was kind of an agreement. It was also negotiated with several countries, including Russia and China, which is probably not good to be having our adversaries help in the negotiation. So, for all those reasons, it was a really bad deal. It was a flawed deal that put American people last. And the other thing too is the context of when these deals happened. Today, Iran is its most desperate. We have eliminated all these branches of its military, aspects of its leadership. It is in a point of desperation. It wants a deal. It wants to survive, and that is its main motive. During the Obama years, it thought it could acquire a nuclear weapon, and basically the text of that deal would have given it that. So that's the main difference here.
Okay, so not to mirror our Western point of view, because again, they have a different point of view. They have a different civilization than we have. If they're so desperate, why do they talk so tough when it comes to this? Because I know they're desperate, but if you're an American citizen and you're just going, well, we'll just go apples to apples when we're hearing these statements coming out of Tehran, they act as if they've won everything. I mean, I'll be honest, sir. I got people posting on social media telling me Iran won this conflict, and I'm like, what world are you looking from?
Well, Iran created its own situation over the last few months. Now, we always knew that they would hold the Strait of Hormuz hostage. They would try to use this leverage over the international community. And so we saw that coming. We knew that would happen. What we've also done, though, which hasn't before, is built this coalition. So, I'd say, this Strait of Hormuz has been under attack for 5 decades. They've been able to hold it hostage, the tanker wars in the 80s. So what happened as well, which is important, we've had this deal. First of all, this is a memorandum of understanding. So it's the first step towards a 60-day process of getting to the actual deal about nuclear issues and other aspects. But in the meantime, what we're doing is building a coalition. and it's of the right countries. And so you have all the Middle East partners, and now at the G7, the president is meeting with European leaders as well as the Emirates and a couple of other Middle East partners. That is a process that takes time.
Can I interrupt
not
for
always
just
in the headlines.
can I
Yeah,
interrupt,
absolutely.
interrupt for just a second? What's the difference between, because I would think when George W. Bush put together his coalition, it was a coalition of the willing. This almost seems like a coalition of the coerced, because a lot of the Middle East states are jumping in because they realize that Iran's not going to have their best interest, started shooting at them. The G7 have
Right.
drugged their feet on this, even though they're the ones that are at the most danger, because now Tehran has missiles that can reach into Europe, and they
Right.
get most of their oil out of the Strait of Hormuz. They should have been one of the first ones to jump in. They've been one of the last to jump in.
That's exactly right. No, and I belabored that point earlier just because that's an aspect of this. Who are we working with? And frankly, as you said, the Europeans have been sitting this one out the entire time. So for me, that's important at the G7. That's top of mind for different leaders there. But it's also a reminder to them, hey, you all rely on this waterway more than we do. You have to step up. This is in your interest. But at the same time, we've seen other partners step up in new ways. We have the Emirates and Israel there working closely together. We have Japan coming in. And so I think it's in a way reflective of kind of a new perspective, new coalitions taking place already. And this sort of accelerates that process.
Dr. Jacob Olidart joining us right now on our program, America First Policy Institute. Okay, I got a checklist of things. Tell me whether I'm right or wrong about these, if you don't mind. When it comes to the nuclear program, Obama's JCPOA limited monitoring of their nuclear program. Trump's standard is dismantle, severely rolled back. You're not going to get a nuke, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Enrichment. Under the JCPOA, for Barack Obama, they allowed limited enrichment. For the Trump administration, we're hearing that it's zero enrichment, period, nothing. You cannot have any nuclear material.
That's correct, yeah.
Sunset.
And can't even acquire it or purchase it.
That's a big thing is, and I see the game that they played because they're very good at semantics. Oh, we won't enrich. And then I saw the administration step in and like, by the way, you can't buy this from other people as well, which it seemed like the Iranians like, oh man, they caught us on that one.
Right, exactly.
In a way, it feels like when you're talking to your kids, like, hey, listen, you can't go out on Saturday. Oh, I can't go out on Saturday, but I can't go out. You know, they want to play these little games with you. We've talked about we talked about the sunset clauses. Barack Obama would allow them to acquire a bomb because this would go away in 15 years. This is permanent. You will never get your hands on a nuke. Now, sanction relief is the big one. What are the differences between those?
Well, I think so. Obama was money up front, no questions asked kind of thing. And it was, of course, trying to create the conditions and thinking, this is the other part too. They use this vocabulary. We have moderates, we have radicals in the Iranian government. The moderates we can work with, they're reasonable people. None of that language is here today. We know who these actors are. The president's been pretty clear about it. And so, I think to your point, the sanctions relief, that was upfront as part of the package here. Again, there's a lot of reporting, of various accuracy out there, a lot of fake news as well. But the administration's been clear there's going to be nothing of the sort. It's all behavior dependent. And so we're going to push that over, take that down the road, let us see how they behave, basically. And I think that makes sense. We're not going into that territory unless we see something that makes it compelling. And, there are different options out there that I've read about. I don't know how accurate they are. Some of them are, general fund that's not taxpayer dollars. So that probably is a different variation on that. But I think none of it is confirmed, and I wouldn't trust the accuracy just yet.
Well, and I saw J.D. Vance talk about this, that yes, the rest of the Gulf states will help rebuild Iran. It won't be U.S. taxpayer money. But I just want to make sure I have this correct. For Barack Obama and the JCPOA, they got money up front, unfrozen assets that were held in the United States for the longest time. And they said, literally, pallets of U.S. greenbacks, pallets of cash were sent to Iran where they got their money up front. And this one, they're only going to get relief of assets that have been frozen. And it's not going to be pallets of cash, but they'll be unfrozen as they cooperate and follow through on what they're supposed to be doing.
Right, right. It's very, yeah, I think that's right.
Okay.
1 minute to
Then
relevate.
my two big things, and we only have a couple minutes here. Two big things were the JCPOA missiles were left out. There was nothing when it came to missiles, and there was nothing to be said about Hezbollah, the Houthis, or Hamas in the Trump administration's agreement. Missiles are going to be part of this, and pressure campaign put on the terrorism proxies of Iran to knock it off.
That's right. And by the way, we also still have a naval blockade on Iran. And so I think unless they change their behavior, I mean, that's not changing. So that's right.
Okay, last thing, and we only have about 45 seconds. I'm sorry we're running out of time, but there's so much to cover here. If they don't follow through, there wasn't much the JCPOA would do. They talked about snapback, but I didn't believe in any of those. If they regress or they turn around and they don't follow up, what's the Trump administration have for a solution?
Right. Well, I mean, as we know, even a week is a lifetime in the Middle East. And so we have a couple of days still till the signing ceremony, and then we have 60 days for the memorandum to be, and they can do a whole sorts of things as well, to say nothing of not following through. So I think we still retain the military option. That hasn't gone away. If we detect, especially that they're, causing trouble, really, and trying to pursue a nuclear weapon or doing other types of things like that. So, I think we have still, as the president would say, all the cards on our side, and it really is behavior dependent. So it's a moment to determine whether the Iranian leadership is in a place where it can actually get to a deal, where we can actually solve this diplomatically, and if not, we'll have to look at other ways.
To me, it looks like we go from the coalition of the coerced, the people that were getting fired upon by Iran, and then the G7 and the Europeans. I think they would become from coerced to willing if Iran backtracks on this deal.
I think that's right. I think it's a moment, and I think that's part of the importance of it, is to determine, to let them, to show the world what their true intentions are.
Doctor, I appreciate you helping me unpack all that. I think this makes a lot more sense for our listeners of where we're going. We'll see what happens on Friday, and I thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, America First Policy Institute. You can look them up online as well to find out more. That's Dr. Jacob Olidart joining us here on Richmond's Morning News on News Radio WRVA. If you want to comment, please feel free. 833-804-1140, 833-804-1140. All right. Relevant Property Guides brings you today's program. So